Hey guys, this is Christian Thibaudeau for the Clean Health Fitness Institute, and I'm here with the star of the show, Letitia, to talk about assessment for squatting as well as exercise prescription. What is your number one task as a coach, as a personal trainer, is prescribing the right exercises. Oddly enough, everybody wants to talk about methods, loading schemes, special techniques, but nobody talks about the number one thing, exercise prescription. If you are a doctor, the most important variable is not how much, it's selecting the right medicine. Once you selected the right medicine, then you can talk about dosage. It's the same thing with exercise. The number one most important thing is selecting the right exercise for your client. Then you select the dosage or how you apply that medicine. And of course, you need to adjust the exercise you're selecting to your client. Body leverages, the length of their limbs versus their torso, muscle strength and weaknesses. So in this capsule, we're going to be talking about squatting mechanics, how to select the best squat for your client and how to teach the squat. The first thing we need to do is assess the client. What will be their need? What will be their capacities? The first thing you look at is limb length. Okay, so do they have short limbs, longer limbs versus their torso? Now, I'm not going to be covering that in this capsule. We do a specific one just about that. But let's look at the two tests I'm using to help me select the best version of the squat we're going to be using in the gym. The first one is the vertical jump. Of course, you use that test only with healthy individuals, not elderly people who are very sedentary. So you're looking not at the height of the jump, but at the jumping strategy, okay? I'm gonna have Letitia here do a vertical jump. I'm not giving her any clue, any tip, any guidelines, except try to touch as high as you can. Okay, don't think about anything else but trying to jump as high as you can. Just go. Right, good. So that's her jump, which is really, really bad. But it means that there's a lot of room for improvement. But more importantly, what we're looking at is the strategy she is using to jump. So normally when you assess a client, you will actually film their vertical jump from the front and from the side so you can more easily review it afterwards. What you're specifically looking for are 6 things. First, we want to look at the strategy she uses to dip down before jumping. So let's do another vertical jump. Good. That was actually a bit better than the first one. Well, less bad. So what we saw is that her squat down was not too deep. The deeper you go, normally the more slow twitch fibers you have. The shorter dip down, the more fast twitch fibers you have. So that gives you a clue about what kind of rep range we're talking. And then the second thing we're looking for is how fast the dip is. The faster the dip down and the faster the squat up is, the better stretch reflex she has. So what she did was squat down moderately low, so probably mixed fiber types. Then she paused before jumping, which tells me she doesn't have a very good stretch reflex. And knowing her gymnastics background, she has hypermobility, so desensitized stretch reflex. That would make sense. Then what we're looking at is the position of the knee, what the knees are doing. We saw that the knees caved in during the dip down, which tells us either the vastus medialis or the gluteus medius are either weak or inhibited. Now, if we know our leverages, our quads are dominant. So my bet is on weaker, less activated glutes. Then we're looking at the landing. Is she landing solidly or is it soft? That can tell us about core, about QL stability, or about knee stability. So let's do another landing just to see the way it looks like. Good. So the landing is pretty solid, probably from a gymnastic background where you need to stick the landing, right? What I noticed is that she actually doesn't pay much attention to landing, which is a mistake that needs to be addressed if we were to use plyometrics. When you do plyometrics, the landing is as important as the projection. So from that information, I can already have an idea of, okay, she has probably weaker glutes, she is probably more quads dominant, and she's good eccentrically. bad stretch reflex. The last thing I'm looking for is the position she is in when jumping. So when you're shooting the video, you can actually look, is she bending forward to jump? Is she staying more upright or in the middle? So you're looking at shoulder position versus their feet. If she's leaning forward, hips back, posterior chain dominant. So either stronger glutes, stronger hamstrings. If she stays more upright, which was the case, she's using quadriceps more to jump, quadriceps dominant. So that tells me that when we're going to be selecting the A series exercise, we will look for a squat that increases activation of the glutes, activation of the hamstring, because she needs more of that. We'll get to that later. And the last test we can conduct to either validate the information or to look for something different is the clad test. When performing the clad test, you're going to be barefooted. You're going to stand on a small platform, about 5, 4, 6 inches, that's fine. So what you do is you put your hands in front of you, put your hands together, exactly. You're going to raise one foot, and then you're going to just up, off, and land. Good. You're not giving any guidelines. You don't want to have her do anything specific, and you can't redo the test, because if she does it a second time, it's going to be already better. She's going to learn to adapt. What we saw was instability at the hips first, and the knee caving in. So that tells me her QL doesn't fire properly or is inflamed. And also the gluteus medius is weak, because if the knee caves in, it's either vastus medialis or gluteus medius. Because the hips were unstable, it's probably more the glutes. So I'm going to be doing a video on the clad test, but I use the clad test as a second assessment, selecting the E series exercise. So now we know that weaker hamstrings, weaker glutes, quad dominance, and lack of stability at the hips. That's what we need to be working on. So the best version of the squat for her would be more of a lower bar back squat, maybe slightly wider, and starting with the hips first, not the quads, just to shift the stress on the glutes and hamstrings. I could also use a band around her knees or even ankle when squatting to increase recruitment of the glutes. But the most important thing is changing her squatting mechanics. Let's just look at what a squat would look like, just body weight. I'll do a few more. People like to see you squat. Good. As you can see, the upper body stays upright. The knee travels forward, which is fine. It's not a problem, but it's a quad dominant squat. So what we will do is do two things that will increase glute activation, hip stability, and hamstring activation. The first thing is I'm going to teach her to take her feet and try to root them out. Try to screw her feet into the floor, not pushing the knees out. That's a bad cue. It will happen, but that's not what we're trying to do. Let's just give her the clue, the cue, push your knees out. What happens? Just push your knees out. The weight will go on the outer edge of her feet, and that's unstable. We don't want that. We want weight to be on the front, the lateral portion, and the heel. So the proper cue is try to screw your feet. That will create torque at the hip, increasing stability there. So that's the first thing she's doing. So screw your feet out. So now you have pressure here, here, and here, and you're squatting a position. Already the glutes are more activated. She's more stable. The second cue we're going to give her is with your toes, try to dig into the floor. Push down as hard as you can. That will increase hamstrings activation and make the hips even more stable. So now she actually is trying to pull herself down with the hamstrings, not resist the fall with her quadriceps. So that increases glutes and hamstring activation, which is what she needs. Now I'm going to teach her to push her hips back a bit more when squatting. So break at the hips first, not the knees. So screw, grab, push your hips out. Yep, that's it. That's it. See, do it laterally. Do it like you were before. So look at the torso angle. Right, just squat down like that. Okay, and now screw and push your hips out. Look at the difference in torso angle. Slightly bent more forward, the knees don't travel as much, which means that the glutes and hamstring will get activated more. Remember this one biomechanical rule. The muscle being stretched the most is the muscle being recruited the most. So if she stays upright, the knee travels forward more, the quad is being stretched more than the hamstring, that's the muscle that will take over. If she pushes out, root, grab, then the glutes and hamstring gets more stretch and they will get more activated during the movement. So when I'm selecting the E-series exercise, I'm looking at muscle dominance, body leverage, and I'm making the best call for the client. If a client had, let's say, very long legs or a short tibia versus the femur, very hamstring and lower back, glutes dominant, I would use a front squat or a front squat with heels elevated to shift more the stress on the quadriceps because that's their weakest point. Always select the exercise that will fix the client's problem. Well, the truth is, in the 12 weeks program, the first 2 blocks, 4 weeks, will fix the client's weaknesses. The last block should be on emphasizing their strength so that you're going to have the best performance possible at the end of the program. So that's how you select the A-series exercise on the squat. Stay tuned next time for more squat information. Fist of victory. That's it.